This morning, tension is spreading on campuses across the country as students demand to be heard.
College campus chaos as schools nationwide deal with an influx of protesters angry about the Israel-Hamas war.
Clashes and arrests from the streets of New York to the University of Minnesota to Cal Poly Humboldt. As more universities crack down on pro-Palestinian protests, citing safety concerns and anti-Semitic rhetoric. Pro-Palestinian encampments now across more than a dozen campuses.
The House of Representatives just passed a bill that could potentially ban parts of the Bible. Will you stand for Bible truth? Listen to this.
What do you think about the protests that have been taking place throughout the country regarding the war between Israel and Palestine?
Well, freedom of speech is very important. That is the First Amendment and everything. I just finished traveling in the United States, and there's just people all over the place on college campuses just protesting and enjoying their freedoms and stuff like that.
I think it's very important that people do that, honestly. You have to bring awareness to a cause that you're passionate about. And sometimes, that's the only way that people really listen, I guess. So it's a really important factor in it, and I think people should keep it up.
I really don't know enough about it. I just feel that it's unfortunate. There's a way to go about creating change.
I think that it's quite important. I think that students are one of the most pivotal point in getting the message across as far as what people actually care about, especially the fact that they're the next generation's leading voices. I think that college students' voice is one of the most important to follow up on.
Interesting enough, the House of Representatives has taken note of the rising tension, and as a result, they came out with this bill called the Anti-Semitism Bill. And it's garnered a lot of attention because of the controversial definition that they've applied to anti-Semitism.
There's a lot of pushback on the bill in particular because of one of the ways it is defined according to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. So this is them right here, and this is one of their working definitions of anti-Semitism.
Now, the part that really ruffled the feathers of conservatives was this: using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, so examples, Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis.
If you say that the Bible teaches that the Jews killed Jesus, you would be guilty of anti-Semitism. What are your thoughts?
That's a lot, I would say. I think it's a little too black and white, which they're trying to do because they're trying to pass a bill. So I guess they have to kind of put in those I guess terms for it. But I think that's pretty harsh to just say because you support the Bible that means you're anti-Semitic, because I don't think that's true.
What do you think of that? Do you agree with them that that's anti-Semitic? Do you think Christians should be labeled as being anti-Semitic for preaching Bible truth?
Of course not. Of course I don't agree with that, simply because this is not a story that was just told yesterday. This has been a story that's been told for years. And I think that it has a historical reference. I think that it's something that everyone should pay attention to, especially with the fact that the Bible isn't our oldest history text. However, there are some things that people could really learn from these historical periods of time when people, wrote what they saw at that time.
I think in terms of the bill itself, everything, again, change is created because things go too far. And if there's things that are being done that pertain to Jesus or Jews in a negative way, then I would understand why they'd want to limit that.
Jesus was, in essence, viewed as a terrorist to the Roman Empire and stuff. So, it's very convenient. And it also claims in the Bible, like when he was isolated, the Roman soldiers beat him and made fun of him and put the crown of thorns on his head and declared him king of Jews and made fun of him, and he put him in purple robes and stuff like that. The Jews' defense is that they're telling people, no, the Romans initiated this.
Robert, what's interesting about that is that so the Romans were the ones who crucified Jesus, but in the Bible it shows you that the Jews were the ones who called for it. So Pilate said, hey, who should I release to you? the king, who should I release to you, Barabbas or Jesus? And the chief priest, inspiring the crowd, as well as calling, they were the ones who said, hey, crucify him. We want Barabbas. So while the Romans put him to death, because the Jews didn't have the power to, since they were under Roman rule, the Jews were the ones who did, in essence, crucify Jesus. They're the ones who captured him with the Romans and delivered him unto Pilate.
And meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene kicking up controversy for a completely other reason. Today she announced she was voting against a bill to combat anti-Semitism, and in her reasoning, she invoked an anti-Semitic trope. I want to read you what she said in her post on social media. She said, "Anti-Semitism is wrong, but I will not be voting for the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act today that could convict Christians of anti-Semitism for believing the gospel that says Jesus was handed over to Herod to be crucified by the Jews."
So what are your thoughts? Do you feel like it's appropriate to label anybody who teaches Bible truth as anti-Semitic, as racist?
No, I really don't. Again, it's just there's so much gray area in everything that you can't just say, because you do this, you're bad and you're racist or anti-Semitic, so I don't think so.
I feel like that's wrong. I feel that, whether you believe in God or not, creating a stereotypical persona because of things that you disagree with is wrong. And, I encourage young people on college campuses, as men and women that are in school right now go through their professional career, you're going to have to deal with differences of opinion in the workplace, and there's a respectful way to disagree with someone, and everyone has, again, we have the ability in this country to not agree with people, but in every instance of all race and religions, it has to be done in a certain manner, and if that goes overboard and it affects people's quality of life, or as the Constitution states, your pursuit of happiness, and it makes that harder, then I understand why they're creating bills to prevent that.
Do you believe that we should be in support of a bill that's going to limit free speech and then even cause Christians to be persecuted for what they believe?
Absolutely not. There is no way that you can just it's a slippery slope, because that's the First Amendment.
Of course not. I believe that freedom of speech goes beyond religious beliefs. I believe that, there's always a hidden agenda behind a lot of what we see, just because we've taught in history there's tons of propaganda. So the question is that what is the government doing, and what does that reflect and say about our government? And I think that if everyone answers that question, that'll be all the answers you need to know.
Do you think that it's a good idea to pass a bill that would stifle freedom of speech and be used also to ostracize or persecute Christians who believe in the Bible?
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's not the right way to go. I'm hoping that it doesn't go through based on what they're, basing it off of, because it's just not right at all.
That wouldn't be good, but unfortunately, it's the actions of a few people that have led to this point. If it limits the ability of some of the behaviors going on in college campuses, then I understand why it's being done.
But it's good to have discussion about it, but it's good for citizens to know what's going on and to be able to see when their liberties are being restricted, when the potential of that is about to happen as well. And what's interesting just about this whole thing as we close off is the Bible prophesied before that we would see such things taking place, the liberties of conscience being threatened. When you look at Matthew chapter 24, it tells us clearly, speaking about the last days, he shows us that there will be wars and rumors of wars. And we're seeing that right now. Palestine and Israel, you have Ukraine and Russia, you have the US and Iran, all of these threats. World War III is trending in a sense right now. And so what happens after that? In verse number 9 of Matthew 24, it says, "Then, or after these things, shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." So we're living in a time where laws are about to be passed. Measures are about to be put in place for those who hold true to Bible truth, that they will be persecuted for believing in the name of Jesus Christ.
Yet again today on the floor of the House of Representatives, we had another show vote to make people feel good about themselves by passing a bill that says anti-Semitism in the title. When we want to insert the government into what you're thinking and what motivates you, you are empowering that which should never be empowered. The ability of the government to police thought. to police speech, to police your views.